I'm Rick Thorpe, the Executive Director of the LLM program at the University of Pittsburgh School of Law. Today, I want to talk about some of the things that prospective LLM students might want to consider if they're thinking about using their LLM year to prepare to take a bar examination in the U.S. But first, I want to talk to you about cats and lasers. Very cute. Cuter than cat with laser eyes, I think. But why does the cat chase the laser? What will it do with the light if it could catch it? Nothing. But it's bright and shiny. It's so bright and pretty, and so our cat spends its energy chasing an insubstantial point of light when it could be doing something useful and filling, like hunting mice. What does this have to do with LLMs and bar examinations? When I talk with my colleagues at other LLM programs, one story that we all seem to have in common is that of the LLMs who, when they apply, they tell us that they're going to be using their LLM year to study to be a human rights lawyer or to improve their knowledge of international business law, only to arrive at the program, to hear students and staff talking about bar exam requirements, and to decide to abandon the prior course plans and instead take courses chosen to satisfy the coursework requirements to sit for a bar examination in one state or another. Why? Do they need admission to a U.S. bar to be a human rights lawyer or to be an international arbitrator? No, but it's bright and shiny. It's an achievement. Too often lawyers and law students are obsessed with seeking whatever prize our other colleagues have chosen to seek. So don't be the cat chasing the laser. Don't plan your LLM year around the requirements of a bar exam unless you have a very good reason why you would need admission to a state bar in the U.S. This is particularly true given the costs of preparing for a U.S. bar, not just financial costs, but the opportunity costs that I just spoke about. Currently, the friendliest jurisdiction for foreign-trained lawyers seeking admission to a U.S. state bar is New York. But even in New York, the minimum number of credit hours and required courses that you have to take just to satisfy the coursework requirements for eligibility is 12. The typical LLM program requires 24 credit hours over the course of the LLM year. So, a decision to take a U.S. bar means that at a minimum, you've already committed half of your schedule to general courses. And if you really want to have any chance of joining the minority of LLM graduates who actually succeed in passing the U.S. bar, then you really have to focus the remainder of your schedule as well on so-called 1L or first-year courses in torts, contracts, civil procedure, constitutional law, and the like, and not in more specialized courses in your own particular area of interest. Now, by the way, I don't want to discourage anyone from taking that kind of a broad survey of U.S. law. I think there's a lot of value in getting broad exposure to our country's legal system. If, for example, you want to work as an in-house counsel at a corporation back in your home country that has a lot of business in the U.S., then you may want to make yourself familiar, not just with business law, for doing, writing up contracts between your home country and the U.S., but also with how we do civil litigation in the U.S. in case your your employer gets sued in the U.S. You may want to have a background in U.S. administrative law in case you're going to be dealing with regulatory issues, for example, export-import regulations. So if that's what you want to use your LLM year for, do it. Just be sure you know why you're doing it. Now, I mentioned the financial costs of taking a U.S. bar exam, and they are substantial. You need to plan to spend every waking hour for 2 months after you graduate studying for the exam. That's 2 months of housing and meals without income from employment. Registration fee for the bar exam in New York is close to $900. You'll have to pay for travel to the bar exam site and for a hotel. And if you pass, you'll have to pay for travel and a hotel in order to be sworn in person. And finally, if you want to have any real hope of passing, you need to pay for a commercial bar exam preparation course, which can run from $2,000 to $5,000. Remember, you're competing on a U.S. bar exam against U.S. law students who have had 3 years, not 1, to study U.S. law. And nearly all of them also take commercial bar preparation courses after they graduate. Remember that even in a state like New York that is relatively friendly to foreign-trained lawyers, there are still many other requirements for seeking admission to those state bars on top of the coursework requirements that I was just talking about. You have to collect a wide range of documents in your home country before you come to the U.S. for your LLM year. You're well advised, even before you start your LLM year, to consult with the relevant state bar authorities to confirm that your prior legal education satisfies that state bar's requirements. It's not just your LLM transcript that they're looking at. They're going to be looking at your LOB or other first degree in law. In New York, you now have to satisfy requirements for pro bono work, 50 hours, as well as an experiential training requirement. So there are a lot of requirements and preconditions that you need to be sure you understand before you embark upon designing your LLM curriculum around preparation for a bar exam. One of my fellow LLM professionals who works with the LLM program at Brooklyn Law School has a terrific video that goes into details about the New York requirements. It's an hour long. Finally, be realistic about what you can do with admission to a given U.S. state bar. Admission to the New York bar, for example, only means that you can practice law in New York State, which is probably the most competitive and difficult to enter legal market in the U.S. We don't have a national bar in the U.S. Every state has its own rules, and a lawyer who's admitted in one state but tries to practice law in another can be prosecuted for the unlicensed practice of law. Now, in some states there have been some exceptions made, for example, to allow individuals to work as in-house counsel who have a bar admission in a different state, but not in the state in which they're actually working. But those exceptions often have a number of restrictions around them, which an LLM graduate may not always be able to satisfy. You have to read the regulations of each state carefully and cautiously. Having been admitted to U.S. State Bar can be a very valuable credential, and if it's clear from your discussions with colleagues, professors, and current or potential employers that it will substantially improve your employment prospects in your chosen career, I certainly don't want this video to discourage you from pursuing it. And you will find me and my counterparts at other LLM programs are more than willing and experienced in helping you to choose the appropriate courses to that end. Just be sure that you know why you want to seek a U.S. State Bar admission, and make sure that this path is consistent with the individual desires and dreams that first led you to pursue an LLM degree. I'm Rick Thorpe from the Pitt Law LLM program, wishing you the best of luck as you choose and pursue your LLM degree.